Today on the show, we are presented with an archive of personally inscribed books. These books are special because they were written and signed by a widely celebrated American writer, Ray Bradbury. A highly celebrated 20th century writer, Ray Bradbury is known for his novels Fahrenheit 451, The Martian Chronicles, Dandelion Wine, among many others. The guest's husband's aunt, Janet Johnson, taught Ray Bradbury a class in short story writing when he was 17. This had a great influence on his career, as he was always sent a copy of his books personally inscribed to her from 1951 until she died in 1979. He had even dedicated some of his works to her in acknowledgement of her influence on his career. A very sentimental and personal archive of books from a celebrated writer wouldn't be worth any less than...
I would figure the insurance to be right around $12,000.
Okay, good.
The guest brought in a fascinating incense burner, a treasured piece from their mother-in-law's collection of Asian artifacts. The base and lid were crafted in the 18th century, most likely during the Qian Lung reign. The exquisite jade finial perched on top, however, dated back even further, belonging to the Ming period, which was from 1368 to 1644. But the true star of the show is the Longwen Celadon piece nestled within the burner. This piece, remarkably well preserved in its characteristic kingfisher's feather blue-green color, is estimated to be from the 13th century, around 1250. Originally, it would have been filled with sand to serve as a base for burning incense. The red wood stand, intricately carved with Royi symbols, signify hospitality, added another layer of history. The wood itself was like aged wood, possibly 100 years old even by the time the stand was crafted in the 18th century. Despite some hairline cracks, a commonality for an object of such age, the overall condition and presentation of the incense burner was deemed magnificent. Taking into account both the historical significance and the beautiful craftsmanship, the estimated value of the burner is...
At auction, we would expect this to sell between $8,000 to $10,000.
Okay.
This is a collection of unique items related to artist H.C. Westermann, a friend of the guest's parents from their days at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago. H.C. Westermann, formerly Cliff Westermann, was a World War II and Korean veteran whose experiences profoundly impacted his art. One of the centerpieces of his collection was an illustrated letter Westermann sent to the guest's parents in 1962. The whimsical illustrations and lighthearted message contrasted starkly with Westermann's service history and the darker themes that often pervaded his artwork. This duality was a recurring aspect of Westermann's artistic personality. The collection also included a photograph of Westermann in his studio and a linocut print depicting a scene from his Disasters from the Skies series, a series reflecting the anxieties of the modern age. The collection is of great significance, particularly the unique illustrated letter. While the appraised value of the linocut print ranged from...
At auction, they bring between about $2,500 and $3,500.
The one-of-a-kind illustrated letter was estimated to be worth a remarkable...
You're probably looking about $4,000 to $6,000 for it at auction.
The guest scored a lucky find at an auction. She purchased this unique painting by Lee Godie, a self-taught Chicago artist, for a mere $800. Lee Godie, known for her distinctive style, drew inspiration from the French Impressionists and created portraits, particularly of society ladies. This particular double-sided piece was unusual, as Godie typically used paper, not canvas. The back of the painting featured tracing of Godie's hands, adding a personal touch. There is growing interest in outsider art, a category that Lee Godie's work falls under. Because this particular Godie creation incorporated a vintage postcard of an 18th century French artwork, it is considered even more valuable. This painting, in its current condition, would fetch
recent sales of this kind of work for about $3,000. So your $800 investment was a pretty good one.
Excellent.
The guest brought in a set of adorable vintage plush toys they inherited from their wealthy aunt and uncle. These plush toys were no ordinary companions. They turned out to be a piece of Disney history. The toys are the three little pigs, Pfeiffer Pig, Fiddler Pig, and Practical Pig, manufactured by Schuko, a renowned German toy company in the 1930s. These plushies were created to capitalize on the immense popularity of the classic 1933 Walt Disney film Three Little Pigs, even winning an Academy Award the following year. While the guest initially thought they might be from Stief, another prestigious German toy maker, Hugo proved to be just as collectible. The most remarkable aspect of the set was its exceptional condition. The toys themselves were in pristine shape, but the fact that all the original boxes, complete with crisp corners and perfect labels, were present further enhanced their value. Even the original keys to wind up the toys were included. Considering these factors, the estimated worth of the entire set is...
The set at auction would be $2,000 to $2,500.
This watch, intricately decorated with enamel and silver, is a seemingly 17th century watch with a captivating history. The watch's movement is indeed crafted by a London watchmaker around the late 1700s. However, the overall assemblage belonged to a later period. The hallmark on the back indicated it was made in Austria-Hungary sometime between 1891 and 1901. An intriguing aspect of the watch was the use of rock crystal, meticulously hand-cut, to encase the watch movement. The watch's value stemmed not only from its age and intricate design, but also from the growing interest in such timepieces. Taking into account all these factors, the estimated worth of this watch is...
In these watches, a very strong market for this today. Probably in the neighborhood at auction, $20,000 to $30,000.
Recent auction, the value of this piece, as of today's market, is $1,000 to $1,500. The guest presented a charming table, a cherished heirloom passed down through her husband's family. The table is a papier-mâché creation, featuring a hand-painted scene titled The Olden Time at Bolton Abbey. The painting itself is not the original work, but rather a reproduction of a piece by Sir Edwin Henry Landseer. An exciting discovery is the stamp on the table's base revealing its origins. The stamp indicated that the table was crafted by Jennens and Bettridge in Birmingham, England, around 1820. This added a layer of history and craftsmanship to the table's story. While the table exhibited some wear and tear, particularly cracks on the surface caused by heat and sun exposure, its overall condition remained respectable. Considering both its age and condition, the estimated value of the table is between...
If I were to see this come up for auction today, I would suggest a value of between about $1,000 and $1,500.
Okay, it's good to know.
The guest brought in a fascinating object, a family heirloom passed down through her mother. The guest had always believed it to be an egg warmer, but its true identity is a bow pot. Bow pots, made of pearl-glazed earthenware, were designed for growing and displaying bulb plants such as tulips or hyacinths. This particular bow pot is estimated to be around 1810, making it quite old and unusual to be in such excellent condition. This pot is uniquely decorated with transfer printing, hand-painted oak leaf and acorn borders, and hand-painted Bacchanalian masks. These details pointed to its English origins, most likely from Staffordshire. The most exciting news was that the guest mentioned having a second, slightly larger bow pot.
Probably a half-inch taller, half-inch wider. But everything else is the same, yes.
Bow pots were typically designed in pairs to be placed on either side of a mantelpiece. As a single item, the estimated value of the bow pot is to be between...
I believe that in a good auction, it could bring at least $1,000 and maybe $1,500.
However, if the guest's other bow pot turned out to be a perfect match, forming a complete pair, the combined value could skyrocket to...
We would value the pair at more than twice that, perhaps between $2,500 and $3,500 for the pair. Good.
These children's porcelain pieces were German-made and were intended as gifts for children. Passed on to the guest by her father-in-law, they were part of a set that included sugar bowls, creamers, plates, and cups, among other items. Children's porcelain from this era was often treasured and rarely used.
To give to children, infants, children's wear was often treasured and rarely used.
These pieces are decorated with decals and transfer prints of nursery rhyme-type animals like cows, goats, chickens, geese, dogs, and cats. Interestingly, the presence of dogs and cats on the pieces increases their value, as they are sought after by collectors.
You wouldn't expect them to be hand-painted.
Right.
They're decals, transfer prints. Now, if these were just plain white, which some of them are.
Also, the most significant feature is the depiction of a little image of an automobile, which is rare for its time, around 1905, adding to its perceived value. Despite their initial inexpensive nature, these pieces, due to their unique decoration and historical significance, could sell for,
because they are of this period with the automobile, the pair of them in a good antique shop would certainly sell for about $150 or perhaps as much as $200.
Brought before us today on the show is a leather-bound first edition of the Uncle Tom's Cabin book. Our guest had inherited it from her grandmother. The book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, sometimes called Life Among the Lowly, is an anti-slavery novel and was written by Harriet Elizabeth Beecher Stowe. Harriet was an American author and abolitionist. The book, published in 1852, is an English edition for the United Kingdom and was illustrated by an illustrator named George Cruikshank.
It came out a little after the Boston edition, and then it was illustrated by an illustrator called George Cruikshank.
Alongside the book is a letter pasted in it dated 14th July 1893, written by the author Harriet, addressed to children, telling them to be good to the poor and oppressed.
Dear children, you will soon be men and women, and I hope you will learn from this story always to remember and pity the poor and oppressed. When you grow up, show your pity by doing all that you can for them.
This book and letter clearly show us the way the author felt about slavery and why she felt the need to write such a book that played a significant role in shaping public opinion about slavery in the world. The book portrays the harsh realities of slavery and why such a dastardly act needed to be stopped. This piece, with its impact on literature, its role in shaping public opinion on slavery, and its enduring relevance in discussions of race, identity, and social injustice alongside the letter in the book, would bring up the value to...
And the letter would bring it up to a $3,000 to $5,000, and that's a conservative retail estimate.
Wow.
The artisanal mastery embodied in this folk art plywood box is definitely captivating. The box was presented on the show by this guest. He acquired it from an estate sale company. Observing the top side of the box, we can see the word suicide inscribed in its label. And on the inside, we can see an image of flamingos and some wrapped scissors. This intriguing piece was made by H.F. Westermann. Westermann was an American sculptor and printmaker. His sculptures frequently incorporated traditional carpentry and marquetry. His mastery in carpentry is clearly visible in this item. This piece was made in 1960. Additionally, it is very hard to categorize most of Westermann's work due to how surreal they often come off. The works of Westermann are very popular among collectors, with the Museum of Contemporary Art Chicago having many exhibits of his works.
The Museum of Contemporary Art here in Chicago wrote the catalog raisonné on this artist, and the Whitney, and they have had many exhibits of his work.
A captivating yet surreal work of art like this one, well preserved and also being the work of an exemplary artist, could conservatively be valued at auction at around...
If this thing checks out, and I think it well should, it would be valued between $20,000 and $30,000.
Wow, that's unreal.
A piece of the early Ming Dynasty was showcased by the guest. This Celadon charger is a round, heavy plate with a simple yet beautiful design.
It's really heavy, I just held it. Yes,
and it had some characteristics that made me think it was actually old.
It features a central decoration of flowers, indicative of the early Ming Dynasty style. Unlike later pieces that often have decorations around the rim, this charger's central carving is characteristic of its era. Furthermore, the charger was used for serving lamb, a detail that adds to its historical context. Quite fascinating, the charger comes with a certificate from the 1950s from a Japanese art dealer, indicating it's a 14th century Ming plate.
Makes sense because Japanese tea masters, they liked these things, and they were avid collectors.
Right.
And they are very nice Ming period pieces, Celadon pieces like this in Japan.
This certificate, along with other pieces and receipts from Japan, suggests a history of collecting and appreciation for the Ming period Celadon pieces in Japan. A piece such as this, with its elegant simplicity and rare central flower motif that embodies the sophisticated taste of Ming Dynasty artistry, is valued at
Chinese items are very popular these days. At the auction, I think you can get $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow. Wow.
So you did very well.
My wife did really well.
Congratulations, yes, congratulations.
Today, before us are 3 cards from a game of skill and strategy, the beautiful game of baseball. The cards were collected by our guest when he was a kid.
I collected them when I was a little kid. I kept them and my mother didn't throw them away.
They include a 1951 Baumann Mickey Mantle, a 52 Mantle, and a 1951 Baumann Willie Mays. These cards are 3 of the most important post-war baseball cards because of the players on them, 2 of them being Hall of Famers from 1949 to 1958.
From 1949 to 1958, every year, one of the 3 New York teams was in the World Series.
We can clearly see that these cards encapsulate the history of the sport with the iconic players featured on them. The sharp corners of the cards stand out, with none of them grading lower than 3.5. Quite unique is the Mickey Mantle card, as it was most collected post-war player card, showing the most vital statistics about one of the most beloved baseball players. These cards offer a rich tapestry of history and a connection to legends, moments, and milestones that have shaped the beautiful game of baseball, and are still in premium condition. At insurance value, they would be worth,
still looking at insurance with an escalating market at $30,000 to $50,000.
The guest presented a screen that she inherited from her husband. This quintessential piece from the iconic designer Charles Eames was developed in 1946, showcasing his expertise in bent plywood. Charles Eames, renowned as one of America's most famous furniture designers, transitioned from making splints for the Navy during World War II to creating innovative furniture pieces post-war. This screen, crafted from ashwood, exemplifies Eames' ability to blend subtle beauty with functionality, a hallmark of his designs.
This wonderful subtle beauty with practicality.
Also, it features a canvas interior, a characteristic of the original pieces.
Today, $9. I have seen a lot of these. They made these in 6 panels, which you have, 8 panels, 10 panels. And usually the more panels there are, the more that they're worth as well. But your screen is in such great condition.
Today, Eames's screens are highly sought after by collectors, with this well-preserved example estimated to be worth,
today at auction, this piece is probably worth $2,000 to $4,000.
Oh my goodness.
These prints were discovered in the cabin of the guest's husband's grandfather and passed down to them. They are prized possessions, original prints by Gustav Baumann, deeply treasured within the family. Baumann, born in 1881, made his way to the United States in 1918, eventually finding his artistic home in the vibrant city of Santa Fe. He specialized in crafting intricate woodblocks and utilized self-made oil-based paints.
And he chose the European method of woodblock, which is very intricate, meticulous, detailed work.
He gained fame for his meticulous craftsmanship, both in the creation and printing of his own blocks.
This picture, entitled Punch Hunting Chipmunks, is absolutely the most beautiful I have ever seen.
Alongside his expertise in printmaking, he also explored the world of puppetry and marionettes. His art is renowned for capturing the radiant spirit of Santa Fe. His distinctive signature, featuring a hand resting on a heart, is present in all of his prints. Appraiser estimates value of each print between,
for each one of the prints, would be between $20,000 and $22,000.
Wow, that's a surprise.
Therefore, the total value of the collection is between $60,000 and $66,000. Evoking a sense of nostalgia and admiration for their musical legacy, today we are graced with 2 signatures on a piece of paper from legends in the musical world. One of the signatures belongs to a man who was part of a successful, world-famous English rock band, John Lennon. Lennon, an English musician, was the founder, co-lead vocalist, and rhythm guitarist of the famed Beatles band. The other signature belongs to an incredibly talented American singer and songwriter, Harry Edward Nilsson III. Nilsson was renowned for his distinctive voice, emotive songwriting, and innovative approach to music, spanning various genres. These signatures remind us of the close and unique friendship these two greats shared over their love of music.
The combination of the two of them, because they had a legendary friendship.
The pair also famously engaged in a period of debauchery and excess known as the Lost Weekend in the mid-70s.
They kind of reconnected in Los Angeles around 1973, 1974 when John Lennon was on The Lost Weekend and he was doing a lot of partying out in LA, and Harry Nilsson was invited to a party at George Harrison's house, so he was really good friends. He was very good friends with Ringo Starr.
Their love of music is remembered in their memorable collaboration that gave us the album Pussycats, recorded at Record Plant Studios. These signatures symbolize not only their individual brilliance as musicians and songwriters, but also the enduring friendship and creative synergy between two legendary figures in the music industry. And they are worth,
I think at auction, it would probably be closer to $4,000 to $6,000.
Awesome, that's wonderful. Wow.
Long ago, the owner's great-great-grandfather from Italy traded a violin for a keg of wine as a wedding gift.
And he didn't have anything to give to them for their wedding present, so he traded this violin for a keg of wine.
J.B. Violin claimed to own the world's oldest violin, supposedly made by Gaspar Duifapruga. However, Duifapruga lived before violins were invented, so it's a bit of a fantasy. Violin refused to sell the violin but made copies, sparking great interest among collectors. These copies became famous all over Europe and were sought after by many. The original violin might have been made in the Violin or Honoré Derizet shop. It likely dates back to 1840 to 1860, resembling earlier models.
Theoretically, this is meant to be a portrait of Diefenbrugger.
Interestingly, bluegrass players enjoy playing such violins. Estimated value at Violin's shop fluctuates between
around $8,000 to $10,000.
Right.
Its value as a Derizet would be between
about $5,000 to $7,000. I really think that it is one of those.
Cigarette cases, once a symbol of sophistication, carry a unique allure in today's world. Beyond mere utility, they embody a sense of refined taste and elegance. This Naderman French court harp is a remarkable piece with a rich history. The guest, who is a harpist, purchased it from an antique dealer.
I paid $2,400 for it, and I was so happy to have it.
Crafted around 1776, during the reign of Marie Antoinette, this harp bears the Naderman stamp, signifying its maker's appointment as the harp maker to the Queen of France.
On board, it has roses. Rose Bertin, who was the maker of all of the French costumes for the court, kind of set the fashion for the period. So 1776 was the year of the rose.
Originally featuring the French coat of arms, the harp now boasts its original feet, a rarity among the antique harps. Also, the intricate pedal mechanism, responsible for adjusting the string pitch, adds to its allure. Although the console remains sealed, it likely conceals details such as the owner's name, further enhancing its historical value. Despite missing some original elements, the harp's exquisite craftsmanship and historical significance make it a prized possession that is worth.
The value of it today would be $60,000.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. Wow.
Today, we feature a book that delves into a rich tapestry of ideas, knowledge, themes, and characters, intricately woven through its pages. This book was passed down to our guest from his grandfather. It's the third quarto edition of King Lear, a book written by William Shakespeare. Shakespeare was an Englishman who was hailed as the Bard of Avon and stands as a towering figure in the annals of literature.
Of King Lear by William Shakespeare, printed by Jane Bell in 1655.
Printed by Jane Bell in 1655, this book has a bad reputation for being a pirated copy, as she didn't have the right to print this particular book. These quarto plays are highly sought after because they are ephemeral and very much Shakespearean in nature. The book also represents an intriguing aspect of Shakespearean scholarship, as it offers valuable insights into the textual evolution of the play from its first edition. The rarity of this book, however, can be seen in that, according to records, there are only 19 copies of it in U.S. libraries and just 7 in England.
So then I looked it up in a bibliography to see how many copies there are in libraries, and there are only 10 copies in the US and 7 in England, which is also really rare.
A book this rare, which covers Shakespeare's mastery of language, depth of characterization, and timeless themes, and is a literary masterpiece with all its pages complete, at auction would conservatively go for.
At auction, I would conservatively say $10,000 to $15,000.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
We are presented with a porcelaneous bowl today on the show. Porcelaneous refers to things resembling or having the qualities of porcelain.
Something that's what we call porcelaneous. It's not quite porcelain, it's pre-porcelain.
Porcelaneous can be applied to various materials or objects that exhibit similar characteristics to porcelain, but may not necessarily be made from the same materials or in the same manner. A unique aspect of this porcelaneous bowl is that it originates from the Song Dynasty. The Song Dynasty, spanning from 960 to 1279 AD, is a significant period in Chinese history marked by cultural, economic, and technological advancements. As evidenced by this porcelaneous bowl, many porcelaneous items from the Song Dynasty were crafted to imitate or adapt the aesthetic qualities of true porcelain, such as its smooth texture, glossy appearance, and delicate translucency. Porcelaneous items served both functional and decorative purposes in Song Dynasty society, being utilized for everyday tasks such as storage, cooking, and aesthetic enjoyment. What do you think this porcelaneous bowl, embodying the exquisite craftsmanship and artistic ingenuity of the Song Dynasty with its delicate translucency, intricate design, and historical significance, be worth?
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Isn't that cool?
What we have here is a rare and early print by the renowned artist Picasso, who created this etching as part of a series known as the Saltimbanques, which includes only 15 different etchings made in 1904 and 1905. These prints were among the first that Picasso ever made and were created during a period where he was still a relatively unknown artist.
Picasso made only a handful of impressions from these plates and then sold them to a Parisian publisher and art dealer named Ambroise Vollard.
The etching exhibits a technique called foul biting, which is unusual in printmaking. This effect, caused by the bath used in the etching process, gives the print a distinctive marred look around the edges. Most of the addition from these plates was destroyed due to this issue, making surviving prints like this quite scarce. Over time, the print has also been affected by light exposure, resulting in discoloration along the edges.
Now, all of that can be cleaned up by a paper conservator, and that's something that would cost about $200, $250 to do.
Despite its current condition, the scarcity of this particular etching could fetch a princely sum of...
I would expect it to fetch $15,000 to $20,000 at auction.
Wow.
Presenting on today's show are autographed photos and a letter from a former president of the United States of America, gifted to our guest, Ronald Reagan. Reagan served as the 40th President of the United States and was renowned for his conservative policies, effective communication skills, and efforts to bring an end to the Cold War. This particular photo captures Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy at Camp David. Camp David is a historic retreat in Maryland, USA, frequently utilized by American presidents for relaxation and diplomatic engagements. During the time captured in the image, our guest was chosen by the military to oversee the presidential retreat. The picture provides insights into the Reagans' thoughtfulness towards those who worked with or around them.
Well, it was a great experience. They made it very easy and enjoyable, you might say, because they had such a strong consideration for the staff, people that worked around them, and so they were wonderful people.
Additionally, there's another picture of our guest with Ronald Reagan in the Oval Office, accompanied by an inscription from the president for our guest, who was leaving for another military assignment in 1988. Lastly, we have a letter from Reagan to our guest, appointing him as the commanding officer of Camp David for a day, recognizing the Navy's role in managing the retreat.
So between the two of them, they came up with a letter that was written to me declaring Camp David as a ship for a day, even though it was on the top of a mountain, because he just felt like if I was going to be a commanding officer, I had to be the commanding officer.
These photos and a letter offer a captivating glimpse into a crucial period in American history, establishing a personal connection with a beloved president. Their historical significance and personal sentiment render them priceless mementos, and on a retail basis would be worth
It's probably $1,500 to $2,000 on a retail basis, because where is anybody else going to get something like that? Now, this is an appraisal that I think a lot of people will remember.
Talk about a rare depiction of historical events and valuable artwork. This piece entails it.
I just found it appealing. I didn't know anything about it, and I just wanted it and bought it for not very much money.
This Dancing for Eels oil painting depicts a scene from the mid-19th century where enslaved African Americans and free African Americans gathered at the Catherine Street Wharf to sell produce and dance for eels.
I had never heard of Dancing for Eels.
Interestingly, this composition is based on a drawing from 1820 highlighting a historical event that was popular in American culture. As seen, the painting features a child on a stool, musicians playing a banjo, dancers and onlookers capturing the lively atmosphere of the scene. Also, this artwork is done on canvas laid over a tin backing, with oil paint used as the medium and scratched lines adding detail to the paint surface. The painting's historical significance and charming depiction make it a valuable piece that appeal to collectors of American cultural artifacts with an auction price of
I think in today's market at auction, we're talking about something that would sell in the range of $6,000 to $9,000.
Oh my.
So your investment,
oh my goodness,
really did well.
Oh my.
Yeah.
This jewelry holds a special place in the owner's family. It was passed down from her father's side, with her mother receiving it when she was married. Bow brooch, crafted with diamonds and platinum, dates back to around 1900. It belongs to the Edwardian period, known for its delicate and lacy designs. However, the necklace is a mix of Edwardian and Art Deco styles. Necklace was made around 1915. What intrigued appraiser most was discovering the maker's signature. Upon closer examination, the jewelry reveals the prestigious name, Cartier. Both the necklace and brooch bear the mark of Cartier.
Ancestor was an ambassador to Paris. So it's quite likely that it comes from what would have been a great-great-grandfather.
I see.
Living in Paris.
Considering their history and craftsmanship, these pieces of jewelry hold significant value.
I would say for insurance purposes on the necklace, I would have a value of this between $60,000 and $90,000.
Okay.
Value of the brooch is between $15,000 to $20,000.
And for the brooch, between $15,000 and $20,000.
Over time, the value of historical jewelry pieces has skyrocketed, now reaching an impressive $90,000 to $115,000. The boy in the drawing is the guest, Tim. In 1965, the guest was a young newspaper boy from Dayton, Ohio, stood on stage during the Journal-Herald Awards ceremony. Milton Caniff, the renowned cartoonist, engaged the boys in conversation about their aspirations as he sketched their portraits. Wanting to be like his father, the guest said he aimed to be a TV engineer. Caniff assumed his father enjoyed TV, but the boy corrected him, saying his father couldn't stand it. Milton Caniff was a renowned American cartoonist best known for his comic strips Terry and the Pirates and Steve Canyon. His work captures the essence of mid-20th century American comics with bold lines and expressive characters. His chiaroscuro technique, emphasizing light and shadow, added depth and drama to his artwork. This drawing, although distinct from the primary demand for comic strips from major cartoonists, remains strong and vibrant. This drawing of Caniff for the guest, valued by the appraiser,
But for insurance, I would say probably around $2,500.
It was acquired by this guest at a local thrift store. On the back of the item, there is a business card that carries the maker's name and signature. Chuah Thean Teng. The symmetrical swirls and geometric motif of these pieces of pottery offer a glimpse into the geometry of the universe. Our guest today has brought these items onto the show. She and her husband have collected them, and they've been with them for over 50 years. These interesting pieces are the works of a famous potter, Lucy M. Lewis. She was a Native American potter from Acoma Pueblo, New Mexico. well known for her black-on-white decorative ceramics made using traditional techniques. Lewis often created her works by collecting mimbres, black-on-white pots, archaic pieces, shards, and using them to create these pots. One of the pots presented, with a corrugated form, signed and dated 1959, would be valued at around,
And it would have a value of $2,000 to $4,000.
Another pot features a black-on-white design all around it, dating back to the mid-1960s, and would fetch a fair auction value of,
I would estimate the date on this particular pot, probably the mid-60s, also $2,000 to $4,000. Even though it's not from the same time period, it's a very nice example of work, and it's signed beautifully.
There's also the fine line pot, which is very desirable. This particular item would have its value at auction placed at around,
Fine line potteries are very desirable. $2,000 to $4,000 for this piece.
Lastly, this pot, with a seed jar form, does look captivating, and it would be valued at auction around.
This particular piece, I think conservatively at auction, would sell for $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh my word.
Within this time-honored painting, anyone can experience the richness of history. This guest inherited the evocative painting from his father when he broke up his house in Tucson, Arizona. Interestingly, this painting was made by Wilson Irvine, who was a master American Impressionist landscape painter. Irvine also painted across Western Europe, where he produced outstanding American Impressionist versions of the local countryside. Particularly, this painting was painted by Irvine in the Cape Ann area in Boston, circa 1918.
And he went north of Boston to the Cape Ann area, where this painting was painted. It's a scene of Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Depicted in this oil-on-canvas painting is the scene of Gloucester, Massachusetts. There are some interesting details in this painting when observed closely, like the City Hall, the church, and one of the wharf buildings is also visible. Furthermore, this item has been meticulously preserved, and also the frame of the painting is absolutely an original, although with some little wears which can be easily fixed. This breathtaking painting is a true testament and artistry of its maker, and although the American Impressionism is having a bit of a dip, this item would still fetch a conservative value at auction at around
10, 20 years ago, I would have estimated a piece of this quality, subject and style, and wonderful provenance at perhaps $50,000 to $75,000, $75,000 to $125,000. Those days are gone for a bit.
Okay.
Our guest brought her engagement ring, which she received about 35 years ago. She and her fiancé went to New York City to choose the stone, and she was drawn to its color, as it was a diamond with noticeable color, unlike the white diamonds she had seen. This stone is almost 3.4 carats and has a certificate from the Gemological Institute, stating it is a fancy, intense yellow diamond. The guest had never had the stone appraised and did not know its value. Appraiser explains that the grading standards for color diamonds have changed, so it might be worth having the stone reevaluated.
It's a really beautiful color. I mean, the yellow color is really impressive. Our opinion was that it was easily fancy intense.
However, based on its current grading, it could easily sell for,
I could easily see this selling for about $140,000 to $160,000.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. I just can't even believe that.
It's a really beautiful stone. It's a really special stone.
Our guest acquired the painting from her mother, who saved it from being thrown away during an office redecoration. The painting depicts Cleveland in 1851, showing what is believed to be downtown Cleveland, and the bend in the Cuyahoga River, possibly where the steel mills are located today. This painting is a watercolor and is identified as a view of Cleveland purchased from Kennedy & Company.
In 1941 for the grand sum of $18.
The painting is detailed and accurate in its depiction of the city's growth, including steamships, boats, factories, and plants, making it a valuable historical piece. A print of a similar view would be worth a couple of $100, but due to its watercolor medium and accuracy, at auction, this watercolor painting could fetch.
So you might think of an insurance value somewhere in the $12,000 range.
Well, there go our insurance premiums.
Our guest inherited the porcelain figures from their grandmother, who lived in Arkansas. The figures are old Paris porcelain made in the mid-1850s and depicts scenes from Uncle Tom's Cabin, including Uncle Tom and Little Eva, and Elzira escaping on the ice. Our guest researched online and found a similar pair at the Harriet Beecher Stowe Museum, where Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, lived next to Mark Twain. Uncle Tom's Cabin, published in 1852, was a significant American novel of the 19th century.
And there's Eliza running across the frozen Ohio River in a very dramatic pose. I happen to think that this one is more dramatic than this, which is a more common depiction from the novel.
These figures are in extraordinary condition, with the sculptural parts left unglazed in a bisque finish, while
the upper part of the vase has been glazed and gilded and colored. And this creates an interesting contrast.
The facial features of Uncle Tom and Eliza are uniquely French. While French porcelain of this type is rarely marked, these figures are believed to have been made in Limoges, France. The appraiser values the Uncle Tom Cabin's vases at least.
To insure them properly, you should put a value on the pair of at least $10,000.
Wow, great. That is great.
This vintage etching delicately weaves together the threads of flora and fauna into a timeless tableau. This piece was showcased by our guest today on the show, and she received it from her father. Furthermore, this etching was produced by Zao Wou-Ki, Chinese-French painter who graduated from the China Institute of Art in Hangzhou. His earliest exhibitions in France were met with praise from Joan Miro and Picasso. Visible on the lower right side of the etching is the maker's signature in pencil. This piece was made in 1951 and was produced and published in Paris in an edition of 200. Additionally, Zao's works are extremely rare to find, making this delicate etching a highly valuable possession.
Extremely hard to find. He wasn't as popular as he got in the 60s and 70s with his abstract work.
You can observe some details on the etching, such as the landscape with trees, mountains, and some doodles around the print's borders. An item this rare and in such good condition is a truly remarkable find, especially considering it is one of the earliest works of such an exemplary painter. This would push its auction price to be around,
I would put an estimate on it of between $10,000 and $15,000.
That's wonderful. That is so cool.
Today on the show, we have a sculpture of unusual size, but significant to both the sculptor and, most importantly, the recipient. Our guest received this sculpture from his mother. It depicts her on a sofa, reading to her with her dog in her lap when she was probably 10 or 12 years old. The sculpture was crafted by a friend of the guest's grandfather, whom they met at Columbia University, where they were classmates.
I think they were classmates at Columbia.
Well, Schrady went to Columbia. His name was Henry Merwin Schrady. He went to Columbia and he studied law.
As did my grandfather.
Well, oh, really?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
The sculptor in question was a renowned American named Henry Merwin Schrady. Schrady is best known for his monumental work, the statue of Ulysses S. Grant, on the Capitol grounds in Washington, D.C., a project to which he dedicated over 20 years of his life.
One of his pieces was George Washington at Valley Forge. And then he's also known for a huge, huge sculpture of Ulysses Grant in Washington, D.C. And what happened is he worked on that sculpture group for 20 years. And he only sculpted for about 22 years.
His work often focuses on patriotic and historical themes and is characterized by realism and attention to detail, capturing the spirit and emotion of his subjects. His art continues to be admired for its artistic merit and historical significance. Furthermore, aside from being a self-taught artist, Schrady specialized in monumental equestrian pieces, making this particular sculpture quite unusual. It is a family sculpture, intimate in nature and displaying a nice impressionist style. Additionally, it bears an inscription on the back, further highlighting its significance to Schrady. A personally sculpted artwork from a renowned sculptor, known for his monumental and equestrian pieces from the early 20th century, with an inscription on the back, would be valued at least.
It's probably worth retail in the $20,000 to $30,000 range.
Okay.
Today, we are presented with a vintage advertisement sign that offers a window into the advertising strategies and cultural norms of yesteryear. A remarkable advertising piece, and judging by its quality, we can reasonably date it to around 1910. While the advertisement sign shows some signs of water damage, fortunately it hasn't affected the image itself, as it's situated in the margin or within areas of solid color.
We can see along the top here there is some water damage. However, the good news is it really doesn't affect the image.
One notable aspect of this piece is that it remains in its original frame, preserving its historical integrity. This advertisement sign, self-framed, hails from the company Rizla, whose name is prominently displayed on the bottom. Rizla was renowned for its rolling papers, celebrated for their superior quality and thinness, making them the preferred choice for rolling cigarettes. The captivating imagery on the advertisement sign not only grabs attention, but also counteracts the negative associations often linked with tobacco and cigarettes.
You know, cigarette and tobacco collectibles of late are not as popular as they once were. However, that's more than compensated for by the great image that you have.
In essence, this Rizla poster serves as a compelling testament to the peak era of advertising creativity, with its iconic imagery effectively promoting Rizla products. Its historical and artistic significance is undeniable, and an estimate conservatively would be in the region of,
I would probably put an estimate conservatively of $1,200 to $1,800.
Well, that's fantastic.
This piece of furniture serves as a gateway to countless worlds nestled within its petite frame. Presented on the show is a Little Journeys book rack. It was presented by this guest. She purchased this piece around 1964. It was crafted by the Roy Crafters in East Aurora, New York.
Made by the Roy Crofters in East Aurora, New York.
This item has a highly polished appearance and 4 sturdy legs for support. Additionally, it boasts multiple compartments for your books. An item this intriguing would always catch people's gaze. One might wonder how much it would be worth at auction.
If you bought all 24 volumes of the Little Journeys, he would give you the book rack.
Approximately 12 years ago, the neighbor gifted the guest this bowl adorned with fairyland luster decoration. The appraiser identified the bowl as Wedgewood bone china. It had a Portland vase mark and an inscription mentioning Infants Welfare Center, Hanley, T.W., Twyford.
Just at the end of World War I, he established this society to take care of children, mostly to do with the war effort initially, and then it continued on to just take care of any child that needed help.
The bowl also bore the date December 9, 1930, possibly coinciding with the end of Daisy McCaig Jones's tenure at Wedgewood.
Now, Daisy McCaig Jones worked at Wedgewood on this wonderful Fairyland luster from about 1917 to about 1931. So this 1930 date would be still within the context of her working at Wedgewood, but also right at the very end of when she worked at Wedgewood. She was a very, very eccentric woman.
The bowl features the poplar trees pattern on the outside and McCaig Jones's monogram on the inside. Its exceptional condition, with vibrant enamel and gilding, contributed to its value.
Now, condition is amazing. Not just the fact that the bowl is in great shape, no cracks, no chips, but the iridescence of the enamel and the quality of the gilding is just absolutely perfect.
The appraiser estimated this beauty to be,
at auction today, this bowl would realize between $10,000 and $15,000. And if you were going to insure it, it would probably be best to insure it closer to $20,000.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
The guest's husband inherited this item from his father, who resided in Marlborough, Wiltshire. The guest was informed that it was crafted by a local silversmith. However, this piece was created by Omar Ramsden, a renowned silversmith associated with the arts and crafts movement. The item bore Ramsden's signature and the inscription, Omar Ramsden Fesit. Despite the initial belief that it was from Wiltshire, the item was actually made in London in 1907. Recognizing it as a fine example of arts and crafts silverwork, the appraiser estimated its value to be around,
if this appeared in one of my auctions, it would probably be around $2,000 or so.
Okay.
Our guest's mother purchased the item, a sculpture, at an auction many years ago for just $5, showcasing her keen eye for valuable pieces. Our guest didn't think much of the sculpture until recently, when they identified it as a work by the famous sculptor Augustus St. Gaudens.
He's known for his monuments. He did the incredible Shaw Memorial in Boston. He did the Farragut Monument in New York City. He did the Lincoln in Lincoln Park.
The sculpture, titled Diana of the Tower, is a study for a larger piece originally.
It was done originally in the 1890s as a weather vane for the top of Madison Square Garden.
The original, standing at 18 feet, depicted Diana holding a bow and standing on a ball. Due to size constraints, a 13-foot version was later created and placed atop Madison Square Garden, making it the tallest structure in New York City at the time. The original sculpture now resides in the Philadelphia Art Museum, making the smaller version a valuable and historically significant piece. This sculpture features intricate details and a beautiful patina, signed by the artist, and would fetch a retail value of...
Retail, this would be about $10,000, $12,000.
Oh, wow. For $5 investment, that's fabulous.
Pretty good.
She would be happy. And I
Good,
thank you
good.
very much, Martin. She would be very pleased.